What's up, besties? Today, I'd like to explore how drawing with my non-dominant hand, or my left hand, can reveal some common mistakes that beginners make, and how drawing with my dominant hand, or my right hand, can show us common mistakes that intermediate to advanced artists make too. Prepare yourselves for me rambling and talking forever. This might get super boring, so maybe I'll add some fire to zazz things up. Extreme special effects. So I'm starting this exercise by sketching the Venus de Milo in pencil. I'm using my dominant hand first and a small statue just off camera as a reference. I didn't edit the speed of this recording, so you can see about how long my process takes and how my dominant hand compares to my submissive hand. That can't be right. Oh yeah, non-dominant. Whatevs. Here I've sketched out the basic shapes of the statue. I've gone pretty quickly with light lines in pencil. I feel like sketching this sort of statue, a female figure, is really comfortable for me. And when I'm really comfortable with something, I tend to not check the reference as often as I should. That is mistake number one. Since I'm really comfortable with drawing female figures, I've gotten lazy, and that is not good when you have a reference in front of you. It's almost like it's all muscle memory with my dominant hand. This kind of mistake has led to more sass or sassiness in her body, her position. I've drawn way more of an angle than her shoulders actually are. I've also got her waistline to hip ratio off a bit. Her hips are a bit wider than they should be, and her waistline is a little too thin. I'm actually already starting to darken the lines because I feel like the sketch portion of this is pretty much complete. I'm doing this by just pressing harder with the pencil. This is definitely at the moment that I should have corrected all of my light lines. But in my hubris, I've darkened in what is very inaccurate. Why can't I have this level of confidence in every other aspect of my life? I'm futzing with her hair way too much here because I think I'm finally looking more at my reference. And it started to bother me how inaccurate it is. Upon realizing that, I'm just going to leave the hair alone and the face and work on the chest. Content warning. I'm about to talk about boobies. I don't want to sound pretentious, so I'm not going to call them breasts. Depending on the artists, the boobies on ancient Greek art can actually look really unnatural. They tend to look a little bit stuck on to the underlying muscular structure. So, since I've drawn tons of boobies over my lifetime, for reasons, those reasons being boobies, I have once again not followed the reference and have made them look a little more natural here. This can be done by just not drawing the top line that follows the curve of the upper boob. It's the same line that would occur if a corset or a push-up bra were pushing upward. And since she's not wearing a bra, they really wouldn't have that line up on top. And that's the end of the boobies content. While darkening the lines on her skirt, I'm just following along the curves of the fabric. Her right foot is peeking out of the fabric, so I'm just going to draw a little bit of that. If I were going to actually finish this as a full piece of art, I would definitely spend more time on the fabric and looking at my reference. Instead, I've kept the lines really loose here and incomplete to show more of the process. I don't know why I'm adding a signature and the year. It's just habit at this point. Finally, here's the statue that I was using the whole time. And now I'm switching to my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand. So as you can see, I'm starting off very slowly, and it's actually not going to get much faster than this. I barely ever use my left hand. I have no idea what that thing's even for. Using it sort of resets me to a beginning level artist. If you compare it to the way I draw with my right hand, I have zero confidence in how I'm laying down the lines. Kinda oddly here, I'm holding the pencil properly, and with my right hand, I've never held it properly. I'm guessing that using my left hand, I'm just trying to do everything right and take it really slowly. I'm super hesitant to lay down each line. And I'm actually looking at my reference much more. So a very common mistake that beginners make is they can't quite figure out where to put the lines in their sketch. Instead of loosening up their hand and their wrist and their arm, beginners usually just use tiny little strokes and keep their hand really rigid. The muscle memory hasn't really been built up to yet. The hesitance here comes from sort of a fear that I'll make a mistake for where the lines go. In this stage of the sketch, I probably shouldn't be worried so much about accuracy. But because I never draw with this hand, there's a lot of thinking about where I want to put down the lines. I'm kind of already working on the detail of her skirt here, when I should be just focusing on the larger shapes. I definitely should not be adding these little lines yet at all. That being said, because I'm concentrating so hard on accuracy, I'm doing something right by checking the reference to my drawing a lot more. Her shoulders are much less exaggerated in their angle, her waistline is less slim, and her proportions are actually being handled much more accurately than my dominant hand was doing. So had I slowed down with my dominant hand and checked my reference more, and had I not been so confident about drawing figures, that first sketch would have come out way more accurate. So a beginner might actually have a great advantage here, slowing way down, checking the reference more, and being a little bit cautious about where the initial lines go. These are all really important things that can give you a way better outcome for your finalized artwork. But this also entirely depends on the type of outcome you want. Do you want it to be a straight up copy of your reference? Do you want it to be a stylized interpretation of your reference? Or are you trying for something else, like focusing on the values? Or maybe you're focusing on studying the anatomy? These are all just personal decisions that you'll have to think about for your final piece. Right at this point, when I'm trying to darken my sketch, you can see one of the most common beginner mistakes. Each stroke is very short, and it's going to lead to an almost hairy outline. Short strokes are great for fur, but not for human skin. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't have a lot of fine motor skills in that left hand. The reason most beginners do it is because they don't really have the knowledge of how to loosen up their wrist and hand. To get control of your strokes and make them much smoother, you can practice by drawing really large circles on some scrap paper. Not perfect circles, but more like ovals to just get your arm and your wrist loosened up and moving in much larger shapes. I should probably record a demonstration to show you what I'm talking about and just pop it in here. But that'll take more work. And I don't work for you. I mean, geez, how much longer is this stupid video? Wait, Holy shit, it's like 9 more minutes? Christ. So maybe you guys want to hear like punctuation facts or grammar tips? Never mind. Back to the art talk. Here I am trying to erase with my left hand. It is really funny. No control. I decided if I was going to draw with my left hand, then I'm going to erase too. When I use my right hand, I actually draw a lot with the eraser. I'm constantly using it for highlights and getting rid of all my lines that are distracting. It turns out it's not really easy to even erase with my left hand. And this angle of the skirt on her waistline is killing me right here. To correct this, you would probably be spinning the paper. Never be afraid to just spin the paper around if you're not finding the right position with your hand. I wasn't spinning mine because I wanted to keep the paper in place so I didn't have to adjust it to be within the camera later on. Basically more laziness from me. Since I drew these all in one take, I just didn't want to mess with it. I'm really struggling with the fabric because fabric relies on keeping your wrist very loose. I've got my hand at this total bonkers angle to try to get the bigger shapes of the fabric. These darker lines that I'm placing down are super fuzzy and hairy. And that just comes from a combination of lack of muscle memory and lack of coordination and lack of fine motor skills on my non-dominant hand. That's probably why I haven't attempted the face or the hair yet, because those will take a lot of fine little movements and little lines. So a little bit of review here. To get nice smooth lines, you're going to need to practice loosening up your wrists. You can use your entire arm and don't keep your hands rigid. But for the do's, you definitely want to check your reference frequently. And speed doesn't matter at this point when you're learning. Going slowly is a huge benefit. The much slower speed can really force you to check the accuracy of your proportions and shapes. I also super hope that my microphone is not picking up a literal jackhammer outside. My home is just like a reverse boombox and it's just shoving all the sound right back at me. Working on this foot was really difficult, so I'm taking it so slowly right here. Hands are way more my jam, but she has none. Feet I try to avoid. In this Venus de Milo statue, the weight of her body is really expressed well in the foot position. Another common beginner mistake is to not really show off that weight when drawing feet. Remember to always be drawing what you see in your reference and not what you think the shape of a foot or a hand should look like. With all the thousands of light variables and positions the feet and hands can get into, you don't want to guess at where the light and shadow goes. You also definitely don't want to guess at the shapes of where the fingers and toes are going. Using reference is extremely important, and it is never ever cheating. Tracing is, but not using a reference. Don't trace, you cheaters. I saved the hardest part for last, and I'm starting on her hair and her face shape. In this sketch, I'm not really trying to capture her exact likeness. I really just wanted to focus on the larger shapes of the overall statue. But even a very simple face, I'm super struggling with just because I have no coordination with this hand. Little side note, did you guys know that every time you press record, your neighbor's dog is guaranteed to Yelp. This is scientific fact. So the face is taking way longer than it should, but these tiny features are really difficult to place in the right areas. I feel like I've done a lot more corrections on this one than my dominant hand drawing, which is probably why it's taking like twice as long or 3 times as long. And for just a sketch, I'm also using the eraser way too much. I think I was messing up that really simple outline of her face shape, and it was just really bothering me at this point. Over the next few minutes, I'm probably just messing with it way too much. I should probably add some animated crap in here to distract you from how incredibly boring this is. It's really my fault for not learning better editing software other than this free phone app. I could speed this part up. Did you guys know that this Venus is actually of Milo and not Milo like we say it in America? Because she was found on the island of Milos. There's all kinds of dope-ass ancient art on Milos. Like, I'm talking super ancient, like 15,000-year-old pottery. Venus here was sculpted in 110 BCE. Smart people say that she is the depiction of the ancient goddess Aphrodite, and Aphrodite's Roman counterpart is called Venus. She's carved out of marble, and she's 6 feet 7 inches, which is about 2 meters tall. They found a hand holding an apple next to the statue, and after some DNA analyses, they figured out it was definitely her hand. What they haven't figured out, though, is who the artist is. Or was. He's not alive anymore. Sorry, spoiler alert. Bro's been dead for 2,000 years or something. And more erasing. And more wiping of the eraser shavings. And finally gonna sign it because I signed the other one. Check out this sweet writing capability here with the left hand. Just bear with me for a second. I could have trimmed this off. The absolute tedium. It's still going. Jesus, was I putting the year too? Nope, that was just the A. Here comes the year. Yep, just writing numbers. Still writing them. Oh my god, good, I'm done. And here's the sculpture to compare. Actually, more accurate than my dominant hand somehow. So what have we learned? Slow the F down when you're too confident, check your reference constantly, and keep that wrist nice and loose. Thanks for watching, besties, and peace!